Assalamualaikum and very good morning. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for spending your Saturday morning with us. Welcome to the 7th Urban Talk webinar by Perekabandar. This is our 4th webinar for the year 2021. Before we start, I would like to take this opportunity to promote Perekabandar's National Urban Design Awards, or NUDA. The purpose is to recognize urban design projects of the highest quality and to encourage cities, towns, and communities across the country to strive for best practice in all projects. The National Urban Design Awards acknowledge the importance and impact of inter- and multidisciplinary teams in the livability of Malaysian cities and the sustainability of the communities. We encourage the submission of multidisciplinary projects involving planners, landscape architects, and other disciplines. The awards offer the opportunity to receive prestigious national recognition from a jury of experts in urban design. The award recipients will receive featured media coverage in Perekabandar publication and website, as well as in the local press. So the deadline for nominations is December 4th, so there's still plenty of time. For more information, you can find the post about it on Perekabandar's Facebook page, or you can visit our website, perekabandar.org.my. Okay, so the title of our webinar this morning is Balancing Act, Penang South Island Reclamation. We've got a fantastic lineup of panelists this morning. We have Town Planner Dr. Zainora Asmawi, who is an Associate Professor at the Kuliah of Architecture and Environmental Design, International Islamic University, Malaysia. Madam Khoo Salma, who wears many hats, but perhaps her role as the President of Jaringan Ecology and Iklim Jedai is the most relevant here today. And the President of Perekabandar, Dr. Shuhana Shamsuddin, as the third panelist. Moderating the webinar is none other than the prolific architect Mustapha Kamal of Perekabandar. Before we start, I would like to remind everybody watching on Facebook that we will share an attendance form, and you will also receive an e-certificate if you fill this in. You can also type your questions in the chat box and also comments, and we will share them with the panelists. With that, I wish you a fruitful session. Over to you, Architect Mus.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nurul, for your kind introduction. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Malaysia. Good morning, everywhere, wherever you are. I think we have some people coming from other parts of the world as well. So today in this our lockdown situation, so it's probably a good time to actually sit down and watch this webinar to talk about balancing act of the Penang Southern Island Reclamation. So I just would like to inform of the format of the talk, which is going to be we're giving form of a presentation by each of the panelists, and they will be given a few minutes to actually give their portion. Then after that will be the interactive questions between the moderator and the three panelists, and later will be open to the public through the Facebook format of chat box. Okay, so I would like to introduce the speakers. So first of all, I want to introduce to our president of the Perekabandar, which is Professor Dr. Shuhana Shamsuddin. He's a former professor in urban design at UTM and currently serves as adjunct professor in Faculty of Technology and Informatics, Razak UTM. She's also the president of Malaysian Urban Design Association Perekabandar for the new semester. She was a recipient of the Royal Town Planning Institute Prize for Academic Excellence at the University of Nottingham and winner of several research awards and international urban design competitions. Then second speaker is Puan Khoo Salma, who is actually the immediate past president and vice president of Penang Heritage Trust, co-founder and commissioning editor of Areka Books, Social History, Cultural Heritage, Visual Arts, and Architecture and Environment, author and co-author of umpteen books. I think one of the few very, I call it one, which is Streets of Georgetown, an illustrated guide to Penang City Streets, Historical Attractions, 1994, and Another one is also about the making around the Capitan Keling Mosque, which is a winner of International Convention of Asia Scholars ICAS Book Prize 2015. And the last but not least, a speaker from International Union of University of International Islamic University, Kuala Lumpur, Associate Professor Tamplaner Dr. M. Zainora Asmawi. She is currently with the Department of Urban and Regional Planning in IIUM. So she is actually an associate professor at the Kuliah of Architecture and Environmental Design, and since 1990, and she's also a corporate member of MIP Malaysian Institute of Planners and Regimental Board of Town Planners Malaysia. So her involvement parallel is talking about the environmental that and also that leads forward to work hand in hand with Plan Malaysia. So without further ado, I would like to request for Dr. Zainora to actually present her case on this Penang Southern Islands Reclamation Talk Balancing Act. To you, Doctor, you have about 8 to 10 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I am Mustapha. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to everybody wherever you are. I hope you are all in good conditions during these difficult situations. Okay, so I will try my best to deliver a paper, okay, reflecting the title of our discussion today, but not only from the perspective of the academia, okay, or the theoretical part, but I would like to get it engaged, okay, to the reality, okay, because we need to have the backup, okay, of the scientific research, okay, in order for us to have a good justification for our decision making. Okay, more importantly, when we talk about the implementations and the operations in the ground, on the ground, okay, in the future of this context, okay. So I will share my screen. Okay, so our topic today, or the title, is Balancing Act, Penang South Island Reclamation. Okay, as mentioned by A.R. Mustapha just now, my background is on planning, okay, urban planning. But I was trained, my master's and PhD in coastal planning and environment. Okay, so actually, if I talk in terms of planning at large, but my focus or my interest is more in terms of environmental planning. So we must take note, okay, the importance of the environmental aspect or the natural resources, because that is the foundations of our development. All right. So when we talk about that subject, okay, this is from the environmental perspective. I would like us, all of us here, okay, to share some important keywords, okay, related to my perspective. So on the right hand side here, as you can see, okay, marine ecosystem, marine environment, marine biodiversity. So this is the natural setting. So they this kind of thing, they work in their own language. Okay, when we human, we intervene, okay, so it will definitely somehow, okay, influence the normal profile of this area. When we talk about marine, we must bear in mind it is full of characteristics of dynamic, complex and complicated kind of environment. So we must deal with this thing very carefully, with extra precautions, okay? Not to forget, okay, the aspects of climate change and climate resilience. Climate change is, much more bigger aspect, because we cannot escape when we talk about this climate change over the globe, okay? When we enter the 21st century, the effect, okay, of this climate change is very actually significant, okay. Actually, with us or without us, the interventions, okay, the climate change will be coming. But now the concern is that we are talking about the rate, okay. The rate is coming and change even faster. Okay, at some point maybe we are not ready in terms of how to handle this thing, how to manage this thing when we are talking in terms of our development. All right, so people like those who involve in built environment, okay, because we do change on the natural environment. Therefore, we must take into account, okay, all these the external factors at the global level. Okay, now as you can see on the left hand side, this is I would say the future anticipations of that project. Okay, we expect to have, you know, the community livelihood first and foremost, of course, in terms of social and economic implication. I think this is the stepping point of having any projects on reclamations. Okay, we claim that, okay, there will be a positive economic implications to that area. Okay, I believe these community livelihood and economic implications, Alhamdulillah, we must get it connected, okay, to the aspirations of SDG 2015, meaning that we must conform, okay, the planning today and the decision making today will take into considerations the SDG. Therefore, we can say that our planning of the developments, okay, is in a sustainable manner. All right. This is where the inclusions of what we call it the stress on nature-based solution and also high-tech engineering approach is the, if I can say, you know, the enabler, okay, to make the theoretical part into the reality on the ground, inshallah. Okay. So, and also I believe that all governments or everybody who say that we want to do reclamation land, obviously they know what they have in mind in terms of change the local settings of that place. However, it's like they think of something in a better position, okay, to compensate the loss. So that's where when we talk about the balancing the act, I think further Madam Salma and Prof. Shuhana, we deliberate further. Okay. All right. So we are talking about working with nature. Okay, working nature, they speak in their own language. Okay, when we, as I mentioned just now, when we intervene, hopefully we do it better or in an appropriate manner. So when we talk about doing development, all right, actually it involves 5 main domain, or if I can say dimensions. Okay, there will be the social, the economic, the assistance of technology, and of course, when we talk about the governance, it must be good governance, meaning that a very positive political will, and also in terms of the administrations is crucial in terms of making the proposal, okay, to become a reality with all the mitigation measures and aspect has been considered in the beginning. However, I purposely, you know, bold this environment here. We must bear in mind that we do development on is a fragile kind of environment. Okay, reclamation, okay, like other development, like planners, okay, we do plannings or development on land. Land is one of the natural resources. However, when we talk about reclamation, is that the land is not there yet, but we need to take some land from somewhere to create a new setting of land. Okay, so actually we're talking about doing reclamation in a water-based kind of environment. Okay, all right. So this is the nautical chart of Penang Island. Okay, this is the we always see the topographic plan, okay, by Jupem. But this one something like the topographic, but on the below the water. Okay, so you can see this the pattern, the profile of this bathymetry, okay, of our waters underneath. So you can see here there are lots of elements related with this coastal area, and this is the future artificial man-made island, not one but 3. So please bear in mind, like in the future, let's say if this thing become a reality, the geographical mapping of Penang Island will be changed. Yeah? There will be the birth or the additional 3 island on the southern part of this island, the main island of Penang. This is the if I can say the land use plan for Penang. As you can see, the middle is more in terms of this forest. The grey one is in terms of the developments, okay, the built up areas. So here is the airport. In terms of the locational wise, the southern part is selected, okay. But we must bear in mind our experience hit by tsunami 2004, okay. Penang is close to Sumatra Island. Sumatra Island is located at the Sunda tectonic plate. So it's a fragile kind of a thing. Any possibility, say in 100 years of time, okay, the occurrence might be repeat. Okay, so Sumatra is located in this what do you call it? The Pacific Ring of Fire. So it's a fragile, and we are neighboring that area. So 2014 hit us, and we should learn lessons from that. Okay, so from this southern area, if something happen at this Sumatra, whether especially on the eastern part, I think there is no, I mean, in terms of the coastal defense, we'll be able to handle the impacts of tsunami. Okay, we never know, you know, in 100 years of time or 80 years of time, that might be repeating. Okay, but so if we were need to proceed with the necessity of having artificial land, I'm not sure whether the location need to be reconsidered, okay, to have it at a more less impact of the environment. Okay. Okay, this is I found from one of the articles. Okay, when we talk about the Penang land reclamation, as I mentioned, the basis of discussion is the environment. So we talk about the destroy, okay, the loss of mangrove, the fishing ground over there, the wildlife habitat, sand dredging will be operating in the operations. Okay, there might be some kind of alterations in terms of groundwater system, seabed. Okay, you've seen just now the bathymetry profile of the area. It's a shallow area actually. Okay, and we were told that at some point, at some spots, okay, there are landing sites over there. Now, if you remember, if I'm mistaken, last year when we first hit with COVID, fishermen somewhere along that area, they spotted, okay, the views of humpback dolphin, if I'm mistaken. Okay, so it's a kind of a rare view actually. Probably at that time, less kind of activity, so that dolphin, okay, can freely enjoy their time. So we must consider that one, the possibility of having the loss or probably the change, okay, due to this the artificial man-made island. So now the question is that challenges for us to, I relate with our title, okay, balancing act to meet the future outcome sustainably. I'm sure the developer or the people who involved in this one, they have thought about, you know, gaining the social impact, economic impact in a more sustainable way, whereby they need to conform to SDG. Now, when we talk about this economy versus the environment, we hope that there are some kind of cost benefit analysis has been conducted if you want to be fair and just, okay, to the environment, whether there is some kind of techniques in terms of TEV, total economic value of the area. Okay, let's say we measure how much is the amount of the water, the seabed, the fishing ground, and so on. Let's say, you know, for instance, 20 million. So we will do something on that side, okay. Whether, okay, I'm sure EIA in terms of the Environmental Quality Act, okay, Act 127. Okay, however, related with EIA, yes, it has been approved, but probably there will be some kind of challenge in terms of the decisions, all right. But meaning that the proponents of the project, they follow our legislations, okay, Act 127. And I just want to share with you all that there are many reclamation as well, okay, in Malaysia, like this one in Alor Gajah, in Kuala Nerus, and elsewhere, okay. And for, if you notice, for reclamation, normally under EIA, they fall under second, if you see here, second schedule, meaning that second schedule, that one, it falls under the jurisdictions of the Jabatan Sekitar HQ, not the state, okay? And secondly, in terms of the impact, in terms of the quantum, it is much larger. So that one should be treated under the second schedule of EIA or EIA regulations, right? Okay, when we talk about that one, it has been, talked among the people. So I purposely shared with you all what has been reported in our local news. So people says about 1 island is enough for Penang, why we need to have another more artificials. Okay, people talk about the protections of fishermen and resources and so on. Okay, as you can see here. However, I try to balance it with the positive part as well, meaning that there is a claim, okay, that not all fishermen object to Penang Island. Some of them agree. Maybe some of them talk about the opportunity of having job creations. Okay, probably about 15,000 jobs. And there is some kind of assurance that fishermen and resources protected in those areas, and also in terms of the adaptations of the contemporary planning, okay, in the design, they talk about the green principles, okay, on that three islands. So we look in the future what will be the implications. Okay, now this one, according to the reading, okay, I discovered that they claim that pastel in relation to SDG, so we can divide into three: planet, people, and prosperity. So it says that under planet that they will be meeting or comply to three SDG, all right, climate action, life below water, and also on land. Whereby people, that is the centric point. Okay, they talk about the reduced inequalities. They talk about the sustainable cities and communities. I believe this is where this planning, landscape, architecture, and so on, okay, should play their role in terms of make it in a sustainable manner. They talk about production in a responsible manner, peace, justice, and so on. Okay, partnership related with all the stakeholders, particularly, I believe, the governance. Okay, when we talk about this, some kind of a top-down approach, the people-centric should give priority to the grassroots affected people of this area. I think, the kampung people and also the fishermen. So they might be in terms of the magnetic group, in terms of the number, but we should preserve, okay, their presence in that area. So that is a challenge, all right. And about prosperity, okay, this is talk more in terms of the economic kind of outcome wish from this project. So this is my last slide. I bring to, let's say, the future. Okay, this is just probably a theoretical part, but in the designs, okay, of the islands, on top is the artificial island without eco-engineering. So it's a bit kind of a hard approach, but less priority given to the environmental setting. So this is not recommended, I think, in terms of not only from the theoretical part, but in terms of the reality, it will be, the result will be in the longer run, it will be not environmental friendly. Okay, there are examples whether local or abroad, in terms of having good eco-engineering. Okay, the bottom part is about having, get it connected with the environmental setting. So this is much more environmental friendly, and we bring the environment back to this artificial island. Okay, so let's hope by having this more environmental friendly eco-engineering to the developments of this artificial island, let's say in over 10 years or 15 years time, it will the artificial man-made island will slowly adapt to the natural setting, and it is much more preferable, okay, favorable in terms of giving back to the nature. I think, okay, so we talk about the coexisting with nature. Okay, because we interfere, we go into that area, we do the changing, and by right, we need to create the environment coming back to us. Now, the challenge is that balancing act to turn the plan, okay, the beautiful plan, into a successful reality, following what they have promised in SDG and also in the EIA report. There are a total of 72 conditions, okay, given by DOE to the proponents of the project to follow. But again, probably the questions not only during the stage, okay, of the implementation, sorry, the constructions, but more importantly in terms of the occupational phase, how they will cope, okay, with this change, and also to maintain, okay, the balance between the environment and pursuing the economic wish at the, let's say, state level. I think I end my presentation over there. A.R. Mustapha, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zainora, for that insightful and also informative presentation just now. So just to recap, the project Penang Southern Island Reclamation certainly has actually resulted with a lot of notice by not just locals but also international, and confirming back whatever Dr. Zainora was talking about was reclamation, meaning you are creating new setting by having a land which is actually the new resource that was not there to be there in order for us to do a development or any form of development, and that will also involve some form of balancing through the fragility of the existing tectonic plates of Sunda and our past experiences during the tsunami, which have actually made the Penang Island susceptible to this, which is right just slightly above to the northern side of Sumatra Island. And of course, the development has got its EIA approval with the 72 conditions that they need to comply. And just to give people some form of reference, that the competition has gone to various stages, and sometime last August in 2020, the competition has resulted with the award of this winning design to a company which is formed by Hijaz Architects and Planners together with BIG and also Rambol. So that's the setting that we're going to set. So I would like to now to have, before that, then Dr. Zainora was talking about the triple E effect, the triple E thing that is being promoted by the new urban agenda at SDG, where it will benefit the planet, people, and prosperity. So that will be the second point later when we have the panel discussion. So without further ado, I'll pass this to Puan Khoo Salma. So Puan Salma, the floor is yours for your presentation. You have the same number of minutes as what Dr. Zainora. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me try and share screen and go back to the home. Oops. Okay.
Boleh kuatkan sikit suara tak?
Kuatkan sikit suara.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I just want to...
This meeting is being recorded.
I start by saying that where does this idea of island reclamation come from? As you know, there's a very widely celebrated Palm Jumeirah Islands in Dubai in the early 2000s, which they use reclamation with sand from Australia, and because they cannot use desert sand. And then since then, there have been a lot of copycat projects. The one in Forest City is already half built. I mean, some parts already completed. And then also Jakarta Bay, Teluk Benua, Bali. So everywhere, especially in Indonesia, there has been a lot of resistance because it affects people's livelihoods. Okay, in Johor, I think it's a bit muted because royal family is also involved. Okay, so the purpose of Penang South Reclamation, there has been many changing objectives. But this one is now what they're saying is it boosts economy, improve the livelihood of fishermen, create jobs, and provide housing. Okay, so we will actually go through some of these avowed objectives. It started out when they said that Penang South Reclamation is a means to finance the Penang Transport Master Plan, which is going to cost 46 billion ringgit. And then there was a request for proposal in 2015. And the winning the proposal, which 20 volumes of this proposal was presented, and then it also included the Penang South Reclamation, the 3 islands, as a means to finance the Penang Transport Master Plan. So a lot of people still associate it with Penang Transport Master Plan. But actually now, if you look at the latest newspapers, they don't even keep up the pretense to say that it's going to pay for the Penang Transport Master Plan. And there are many elements to the Penang PTMP which are very unsustainable, like the most expensive highway in Malaysia going through the hills, for example, an LRT for a population of 800,000 people, which is really not recommended because of the high cost of maintaining LRT. So, but this was the preliminary excuse, okay, for reclamation. And the 3 islands is 4,500 acres or 1,821 hectares. It's supposed to be Island A for industry, and then housing, Island B for housing, and then Island C for tourism recreation, but also a bit mixed in the 3 islands. And the projected population, this is really shocking. It's supposed to be 446,300 people. So this is where are these people going to come from? Are these people going to be able to afford, to buy housing on these islands, or are they going to be foreigners, right? So we don't know who, and then the information is very difficult to get information, but we got some of this information from the MPFN, Majlis Perancangan Fizikal Negara. So now they say, well, it's actually to create jobs. They don't talk about transport anymore. No more PTMP, okay? They say it's to create jobs because we don't have any land. But is it true that we don't have any land? Because Seberang Perai, a lot of people may not realize, is actually larger than Singapore. It's largely flat. There's a population of 1 million, which is like 20% of Singapore population. So there was a Seberang Perai City Council draft local plan, which was presented recently by the consultants. And Puan Noliza says, actually, they've already earmarked 2,500 hectares, okay, for new industrial parks. So these are going to be converted mainly from old palm oil estates. So it's not going to, have impact on food security or like local population. So recently in a talk show on television, not television, on this, Astro, that's right, television. So one politician said that, oh, there's nothing there. There's nothing in Kawasan Selatan. It's only shallow, muddy water. So is it true that it's shallow, muddy water? But actually, the Deputy Minister of Agriculture says that it contributes 24.5% of the state's fisheries. It's the main prawn catch area of Penang. And you have fishermen from other states, even Perak and Kedah, coming there because it's so fertile. It's got corals, it's got mud flats. And it's actually the spawning ground for a larger area. So maybe it's because the state government doesn't have any other ideas, okay? Because and then they also need some to generate some revenue because most of the state land has been sold off in the last 12 years. But it's just amazing that Penang Island, which has not even a local plan, until now we don't have any local plan, okay? Even though it's been promised for the last 12 years. But we have a master plan design competition for the 3 islands, which don't exist, for a population which doesn't exist yet. But we have no local plan for existing residents. And as for the financial part, Dr. Lima Hui, who is the economist for Penang Forum, has worked out that, because we saw the proposal in 2015, at first it was 8 billion to pay for the reclamation of 2 islands. And now it's 7 billion to pay for the reclamation of only half an island. So this is, I don't think it's just due to inflation. Okay, so you can actually, as for the architectural design, the winning designer, you can actually watch this video. I'll send you the link later, but it's made by Andrew Han, who's our local documentary filmmaker. So
Tak ada sound lah, Puan Khoo.
oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so he's saying that because this project is going to start in 50 years time, so we might have flying cars and all these electric vehicles. But on the other hand, how come if it's a 50-year project, how come we still talking about 5G? Should it be 10G or something like that? 8G, 9G, 10G. Okay, so if you want to do a futuristic project, you have to think about far. So why are there two white engineers? Where are the jobs you promised us? Okay, that's it. Anyway, but you can watch this video. I just want to give you a glimpse of this. Oops. How do I get out of this? Okay, so then the next slide. Okay, I just want to show you that what is claimed by the winning architecture company, and it says that architecture and design at its core is the art and science of giving form to our future. Okay, so and where we are literally embarking on a journey to create more of Malaysia. I mean, expand Malaysia for future generations. So this is Bak Angel is the one that he's talking about the master planet, right? He's going to come up with all the solutions to save the planet. We have decided to set the bar for Penang South Islands as high as humanly possible by imagining a new archipelago that aims to be both more culturally and biologically diverse than existing conditions. So is it possible to be more biologically diverse than existing conditions? Or this is kind of like architecture speak that, is meant to kind of pull the wool over people's eyes? Because I think when you talk about climate solutions, you have to talk about context. If you replace a forest, a bountiful rainforest with biodiversity and with people who are taking care, indigenous people taking care of the forest, and you replace it with, monoculture palm oil plantation. People know it is a monoculture, but when you replace it with, some beautiful housing development with a botanical garden or something like that, then they say it's increasing biodiversity. Maybe you have more species or whatever, but come on, we are intelligent people. We have to really examine the context, the claims, and don't just let people get away with this sort of advertising, advertorial sort of. And this is a cartoon which I found. Usually when they talk about the concept, they talk about green, roof garden, everything. Then after meeting with the client, it's kind of watered down a bit. And then after the working drawings and after the construction, it's just the plain old, same old, maximize plot density or make it most economical type of construction. And you see that actually now they're no longer using the big BIG designs, but in the editorials that they put in the newspapers, they are using the one which I suppose is, in-house produced by the developer. And then so it will get watered down even further. So this is, I mean, people like to imagine, like architecture people like to imagine something very different and futuristic. And then, but it has, both things. So it has something like very conventional people who are middle-aged buyers, upper income would like to, stay in something that looks like Batu So this is, it's something for everyone. And then what is actually going to be built is probably something like Forest City. This is Forest City. And you can see that it's just an endless row of high rises, which maximize density. And this is, and who's going to buy? I mean, who's buying the property in Forest City, right? And then you will have this kind of stagnant water. Okay, so this is critique by Kate Wagner, who's like a architectural critique of, she became very famous with McMansion Hell, which is a critique of the American kitsch home styling. And she says, no, this is PR architecture. It won't save us from the pandemic. It won't save us from climate change or anything. But this is also BIG's project that was showcased in some UN conference, I think two years ago. It's talk about floating architecture, but it doesn't talk about, where is it? It could be anywhere, right? And where is it really in somewhere uninhabited? Is it a green field or is it really a brown field? So PR architecture, public relations architecture, it probably never be built, and if it's built, it will be very watered down, and it won't look, it won't be all these eco things. Everything will be watered down. So I would say it's P for Kencing, R for Rakyat. So Kencing Rakyat architecture. Okay, so this when this PSI, Penang South Islands, came out in the zine, so there was one of these comments in the tweet. So it says, not this again. Hopefully the circulation issues and ecological concerns will stop this project before they build it and realize they haven't considered the stagnant water issues they're creating. I've done too many of these to pretend this isn't wrong. So at least there's architecture with a conscience, right? And one architect with a conscience. I mean, that's the only like very critical thing that came from an architect. And you can see even in Sentosa Cove in Singapore, they have problem with algae bloom, which then they said, oh, well, yes, the fish died, but it's probably not because of algae bloom. It could be due to other factors. I mean, so you have to have some eco-literacy to understand these issues. So let's have a reality check. The reality check, really, is it going to boost the economy? Is it going to improve the livelihoods of fishermen? Is it going to create jobs? Is it going to provide housing? So you can see that Gurney Wharf is being built now, okay? Gurney Wharf and Sri Tanjung Pinang, two. Sri Tanjung Pinang, one is Straits Key, and Sri Tanjung, and then, okay, there are, some problems which are associated with erosion. I won't say this particular one, but in general. So for example, Rasa Sayang, the whole beach in front of Rasa Sayang, Batu Frigi, has been corroded. Okay, why? Is it linked? Is it not? Well, do some impact assessment, because if you have done reclamation in the past and you suspect that it may have had negative impacts on the surrounding environment, then go and study it before you go and do another one, isn't it? So is it true that the fishermen are happy? Well, these fishermen in Tanjung Tokong are saying, please don't follow our example. We accepted the gratuity, the like sagu hati, and they regret it because they can't make a living from fishing anymore. So ambil iktibar, okay? That's what they're saying. And then you look at the siltation problem, which, they have to keep, a natural system is one where you don't need a lot of external inputs. If you have fisheries, it's maintained by nature. You just need the sun, the rain, and, and the fish are there, they spawn by themselves. You have mud flats, you have coral, you have a nice ecosystem. But when you have an artificial system, you keep on having to maintain it. So this kind of channels is going to be dredged with government money, years and years down the road. And if not, it will just fill up. So we're talking about, designing, the most efficient ecosystems are the natural ones. And if you have to build something, yes, by all means, build, housing for people who actually need housing, not people who are coming for their second home, their fifth home, their 50th home, right? I mean, this is property speculation, it's property playing. So, and as another reality check, there is a court case right now which is highlighting the development corruption which was involved in the 3 highways and a tunnel project. It's a political patronage project. So and the nice architectural drawings of like the Gurney Wharf, which it's not going to be the whole thing. It's going to be a park. It's just only a small section. But that's what they want you to look at. They don't want you to look at the rest of it, right? Because it's going to be highway. It's going to be more condos and blocking, Gurney Drive, the present condos. And this City of Dreams nightmare, City of Dreams actually was built with the land swap. That was payment for a feasibility report. You can read more about it. And of course, what's going to happen in Penang South Reclamation is going to be permanent damage to the environment. And it says so in the EIA approval letter. It's going to cause permanent damage and residual effects to mudflat ecosystems, fisheries, turtle landing areas, and coral reefs. And the destruction of mudflats will actually happen in the first year, because the first thing they will do is scrape off all the mudflats. And then that's it, your fisheries have destroyed. You don't have to protest anymore. The fishermen can just, pack up, because there's nothing, the ecosystem is already irreversibly destroyed. The reclamation will take 15 years, and then they say 30 years, and then sometimes they say 50 years before they implement the offset program. So what offset program are you talking about? The 72 conditions are just template conditions. So what about our Convention on Biological Diversity? So these are, the real, let me show you. Okay, sorry, move this thing. Anyway, then the MOA, the Minister of Agriculture in 2019 said in Parliament, okay, yes, PSR will affect 5,000 Penang fishermen, 6,000 Perak fishermen, with the sand mining. And this is 1,500 of the fishermen who are staying right at that area. So not only that, it will also affect aquaculture. How many, I don't know how many penternak, a few hundred of these penternak fisheries. And these fisheries, aquaculture, you don't hear from them because they're all on TOL. So they're not going to say anything because the government can just take away their TOL. But you can see that the most important aquaculture centers, marine aquaculture, is in Sungai Udang, Tanjung, which is in Penang, Nibong Tebal, Tanjung Piandang, Kuala Kurau, Kuala Sepetang, and these together produce about half of the brackish air power payau aquaculture in Peninsular Malaysia. The sand mining alone is devastating. Now it's no longer going to be in Perak. We don't know where it is, but they say Perak and Selangor. So Selangor people, please watch out. The sand mining is going to take like 189.1 million meters of seabed of sand, cubic meters of sand, which is like 76,000 swimming pools, and a seabed of 819.7 kilometers square, which is so many times bigger than Penang Island, right? So this is a real eco-destruction. There was an article recently saying that trawling, deep sea trawling is actually combined is worse than all the global aviation combined in terms of carbon emissions. So you can imagine that sand mining is even worse than deep sea trawling. So then, yeah.
Another 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So then they're saying that, okay, land reclamation is going to protect the island from rising waters. How is it going to protect? Actually, it's we're going to face sea level rise, and if instead of doing something about it, okay, we're going to build these 3 islands, which will eventually, be undermined by sea level rise and because of, flooding and all that. But the damage has been done. Okay, so you see that I don't want to be too critical of architects and all that, because I don't want to throw sand in people's bowls, right? But at the same time, they shouldn't be throwing sand in the fisherman's bowl. I mean, in the fisherman's periuk nasi, okay? And so you see, this is the image of what the islands will look like. But is it a no man's sea? Is it a no, terra nullius or mare nullius? Nobody see, right? No, it's a common fisheries. There's kawasan ketam, kawasan udang, kawasan ikan, which these people have been, fishing sustainably for generations. And there is an appeal against the approval of the EIA by Haji Zakaria. So he's not a glamorous star architect, okay? He is a fisherman, okay? And he's leading 185 nelayan in this environmental appeal, which is going to be heard. It's been postponed from March until now, September. So when you talk about balancing act, okay, what is the balance? in 2020, the man-made mass, which is 1.1 teratons, which is mostly concrete aggregates, brick asphalt, has already, it's more than the biomass combined. So we have lost the balance, okay? So if you're talking about, I mean, it cannot just be one project because the planet is being destroyed one project at a time. There has never been any cost-benefit analysis for PSR, for Pasir, okay? And no, we need virtuous planning. Yes, we need architecture with a conscience. We need inclusive urban design, and not just inclusive for the future of the people, the residents, the high-income residents who are going to be staying there, and the workers who are going to be working there, but inclusive of the people now, the fishermen who are going to lose their livelihood. Okay, so I mean, this is what it's about. We're aggravating climate change. We are increasing wealth inequality. We're threatening our own food security. Why do we do that? So why are we developing as if there is no tomorrow? Because there will be no tomorrow at the rate that we are destroying the planet. Okay, thank you. So when you see projects like that, please do your research, your background research, and give it a thumbs down.
Thank you, Puan Khoo,
Okay,
Salma.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your, how should I say, very in-depth study that you did, and also your concern that you have put out in your presentation, and some of the, how should I say, connecting of the dots to make your presentation. So it's okay. We will have a discussion, and I think one of the things that you are trying to say is about how are we going to balance with the existing ecosystem, the sea ecosystem, and how we need to actually emulate and also use the current technology that we have, whether we can actually embark on this sort of project, and probably that will be discussed in the how to say, next session of the paper after this. So without further ado, I'll give it to Prof. Shuhana, the president of Malaysian Urban Designers Association, to actually make a presentation to be in conjunction with this presentation. Prof, the floor is yours. Unmute. Please unmute.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Morning, everyone, and morning to the panelists. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Mustapha. I don't have any slides to show, and I'm very glad that we've got an overview of the whole scenario that we are discussing this morning from Dr. Zainora and Madam Khoo Salma, because that at least gives some kind of a background to the issues that we are discussing and to the whole theme of the webinar, this urban talk this morning. One of the very reason why Perekabandar decided to embark on our urban talk, to focus on the issue of the Penang South Island Reclamation, or aptly we coined it as Pasir, actually, which is quite quite valid because it involves lots and lots of pasir. If the project really take off, is because the Malaysian Urban Design Association is actually an NGO that is formed to become the one to champion good urban design practice and sustainable urban design in line with the current concern about the impact to the environment, and the need to support the sustainable development goals of the United Nations. But if you look at most of discussion, when we talk about sustainable development, I noticed that we sort of do not discuss it in a balanced manner, because most of the time we talk about sustainable development, a lot of focus are given into the environment and economics, but we forgot that sustainable development has three prongs: environment, economics, and social. And normally the social part is because it's so intangible, it's difficult to quantify and to value. Somehow or other, people thought that the social aspects can easily be covered when we embark into development, which we call is in tandem with the sustainable agenda. So lots of emphasis was given to like energy efficiency, biodiversity, all these buzzwords, that relates to the environment is being thrown into projects. But at the end of the day, the impact and the concern about the livelihood of the people and community affected by development, which will make a development sustainable or not, is normally being subdued through this, to me, an imbalanced way of looking into sustainable development. Now, how does these all issues of Pasir has got anything to do with urban design? Okay, we at Perekabandar are very concerned about the way how cities are being built, which are not really related to our culture, our traditions, our heritage, our concern for the local identity and sense of place, which is actually something very intangible, something very difficult to quantify, but it's actually very, very important for a development to be sustainable. And because if you look at the SDG 11, we're talking about sustainable cities and sustainable communities. You cannot have sustainable cities if you do not have a sustainable community. So I mean, it's very important that the community support the sustainable development agenda. And if we have a lot of resistance from the community for certain development, this is not something that we can just brush aside and sweep under the floor. It is something that we have to handle face to face, and then actually be more concerned about their plights. Because otherwise, when talk about sustainability, it's not about the plans, it's not about the design, it's not about the reports, it's about the mindset. It's about the way you look at things. It's about the culture. If you have a very sustainable plan, but the people living in there, doesn't believe in all these things, the whole environment will be destroyed. So it's very important that when or future developments, must take into account, how do you bring in the people to embrace in the development that you are going to develop, and how do you take into account their voices, their grievances, their future livelihood, so that the development will go hand in hand, and that the people will actually support this project to become a sustainable one. Okay, that is like more like an intro for me. If you look at the whole issue of this project, because a lot of when we read into this project, a lot of um, discussion will say that this is going to be a sustainable development. Even the winning project will say about biodiversity. I mean, everybody, it seems like it's very having the same goal. But in what are we really having the same goal? Are we really having the same vision? I mean, that is something that we will have to really scrutinize. And for us at Perekabandar, we are looking more in terms from the urban design implication of such project. I think just now, because I've done research about the regeneration of the historic waterfronts in Malaysia, which took me to many waterfront regeneration in UK and America. And it seems that the current trend is to regenerate historic waterfronts, to bring back the waterfront, to link back to the sense of place, the identity of the place, rather than changing the character of the waterfront in based on templates from foreign countries, which sometimes doesn't really fit in with the local context. One thing about the area that we're talking about, where the proposed three artificial islands that has been proposed, I wonder why there's been a lot of serious studies being done, or something like a cost benefit analysis being done to justify whether that is the best place for such development to take place, or are there any other alternatives that will minimize the impact, like that, like what has been discussed earlier. From the perspectives of urban design, we are more concerned about the urban fabric that we are talking about, because this place where they are going to build the three islands is not a greenfield site. It's not an empty site. It has a settlement. It has a fishing village settlement, even though I was informed that they are on TOL land, but they have been there for generations, and they have been contributing to the character and the sense of place. In fact, if for us who remember what Penang used to be in the past, if you want to look at Penang before all this development, all these uh, new development coming place, you go to Teluk Kumba, you go to that place where you can have a very peaceful, and you can reflect back to what Penang used to be before the war. You know, I mean, if you look at the, I think just now somebody showed about the, I think Dr. Zainora, you showed the map of the urbanized area, and Teluk Kumba, you see that area where the bay is. No, that is the part where we can still reminisce the old Penang before all these because if you go further upwards, Batu Maung up to Bagan,
Yeah.
then you see very
Saya share
heavy
tadi tu ke?
urbanized area. Yeah. So if you look at Teluk Kumba, it's still like a Sleepy Hollow. I mean, in a way, we can still see some pre-war shop houses, and we can see a very laid-back character, and you have some of the very beautiful views of the sea and all that. Now, this thing, if you were to talk to developers, of course, we cannot quantify. You know, how do you quantify beautiful view? How do you quantify a peaceful or relaxing environment? I mean, it's a place where you can bring, I mean, the people of Penang, you know, you can bring to your children there to enjoy a setting where you can be really immerse yourself in the natural environment. And another intangible heritage that or you say a cultural heritage that the place provide is the place where you find very fresh seafood. You know, if you want to go to a place where you can just sit and eat by the sea, enjoy the breeze, that's where you go. And you can be in a real authentic setting because the fisherman place are still there. So there are already so many places in Penang that has been tempered by development. I mean, the latest is the Tanjung Tokong, because you can no longer see the fishing village over there. So I would say that Teluk Kumba is the last bastion, you know, where we can see what the fishing settlement that contributes to the identity of the place is there. But with this project, you know, I think although they don't actually develop those areas, but by breeding, I think that Dr. Zana, can you show that map just now? By building an artificial island over there, you will sort of erase. Yeah, you can see that the morphology or the profile and setting of the island will be indefinitely destroyed and deleted in a way. And now we will have, instead of a bay, because you look, that's why I say we talk about the identity of place, and there's a lot of things that comes into place. It's not just architecture, it's not just people. If you look at this area, the Teluk Kumba, you know, the bay, the character of the bay with the fishing settlement and the pre-war shop houses and the villages, they all come together as an ensemble, an entity that gives the character to this place. And by building these three artificial islands there, you know, that character of the bay will be gone. And even though you say, okay, they created three channels, you know, three channels, so that it allow the fishermen to go to the fish. But the setting is already been changed. It's no longer a bay with a fishing village dotting around the area. So that's why I said, I mean, I think we will look, probably people will thought us to be very romantic about this situation, but this is the reality of development. Once you tampered with the place, once you disrupt the existing fabric, it will be gone forever. No new things that you do there can ever replace the character that has been destroyed. And if you look at the proposal in terms of the master plan that won the competition, if you look at the proposal, it's so alienated. from the whole the existing fabric in Teluk Kumba. It's like a forced marriage, between these three islands. We just come in. Of course, they got all these buzzwords, thrown into it, and then with this lily pot concept, which I think I don't know how lily pots actually is an appropriate one in keeping with the existing character of the place to justify it being used. But never mind. I think that each designer can have their own way to interpret the character. But what I'm saying here is that, is this the only site that is and available for the development that they have in mind, or can there be an alternative place where you can minimize the danger of, I mean, like just now Dr. Zara was saying about the effects to the tsunami effect, the environmental effect, and the fishery. And now we know that this place is the homeland for many of the marine life, and also it also contribute to livelihood. And as at Perekabandar, we're concerned about the character of Teluk Kumba, which will totally be changed. And I foresee that this kind of project is another gentrification project. When we talk about gentrification, I think Salma just now has said something. Who is going to live there? You see, the people who lives in the place is actually the one who can contribute to the character of the place. At the moment, it is a fishing village, a small town. I mean, just because it is a small town doesn't mean that you can just trample yourself, build new there, because they have a contribution to the history of the place, the giving a character to a place. So when you build something like this, and you will bring in people of different socio-economic group, different values, and perhaps they're not even locals people, so it will change the whole character of the place. And I'm even though the proposal is to be designed for in 50 years time, isn't it? It's quite far into the future. It looks very futuristic. It looks very like a fantasy island kind of project, and I'm very concerned that this is one of our concern in Perekabandar, the trend of we templates of anywhere nowhere kind of development occurring in our coast. And the unique thing about Malaysia, if you look at the map, we are a peninsula. We are very much a coastal city, a country with lots of coastal cities. And because of the waterfront, many major cities were built along the waterfront. Every city have its character that is associated with water. And Penang is very unique because it's an island. It's an island state. I mean, it's the only island state in the country. It's very what happens to Penang is not only the concern of people of Penang, but also should be the concern of the people in Malaysia, because we want Penang to develop. Not to say that we don't want development to be occurring. No, that is not being realistic. But we at present, in the current situation where our environment is really at stake, and when you talk about environment, it's not just the physical environment, it's a culture, social environment is also important. People are more and more concerned about our identity, our heritage, our lifestyle, and so forth. We have to be very, very careful when we talk about projects of such scale, and especially if it's going to affect an existing urban fabric, like what's happening in Teluk Kumba. So I would have thought that before the decision is finalized, in this case, would there be a better, more alternative site for the development that is anticipated? Because if you look at what they are proposing, I mean, it's just another mixed-use development, which actually can happen elsewhere without trampling into the problem of affecting the sensitivity of the place in terms of the environment and social and the morphology of the island. And I think just now we also see that Penang is not just consisting of the island. There's also the mainland part of Penang, which I think should be considered, as an alternative site for future development, where if it is needed. Perhaps there is the argument that the existing land in Seberang Perai is belonging to the private sector. Then you have to negotiate and then to buy the land. But if there is a need for reclamation land, perhaps, I don't know, because I'm not environmentalist, perhaps it could be less destructive, especially when therefore I done a lot of things at Batu Kawan, the area where the IKEA and so forth. Perhaps, could it be much better to reclaim that part of the land and then let Teluk Kumbar remain a bay setting, because I think it's not easy to create another bay, but you can create another place to have a mixed use development. So the juggling part, the balancing act is that, which is a much better, less damaging decision made, having in mind the sensitivity of the place, the livelihood of the people. And can you imagine, okay, let's take the scenario that when this development takes place, then we'll be deprived of an area in Penang where you can actually sit down and enjoy a view of the ocean, with the local people's way of life, the culture people, contributing to the character of the place. Because all parts of Penang now, if you look at the eastern part, they're already urbanized. They're all full of condominiums and shopping malls. Even Tanjung Tokong last time used to have a small, very quaint fishing village character. Is also now been subject to reclamation. There's another reclaimed land over there. So I don't know. I think I can pass my time to the rest to respond to this. So I think this issue, balancing the act now, I see that the concern for social cultural sustainability is much less being given priority as compared to the economics. And then I notice also that in terms of environment, there's a lots of way to actually get a project to be done to justify the project environmentally. But then, like we say, once you damage a certain environment, it's not easy to actually replace the environment that has been disrupted in total. There will be always be something that has been lost and cannot be recovered. Okay, yeah, boss. I'll stop for now.
Nora, can you unshare your? Okay, thank you. So, thank you very much, Prof. Shuhana, for that. How I should say, another overview of what has been said by both speakers, and also the views of the group on how to actually move forward. And I think we got about 10-15 minutes to go. I would like to, how should I say, summarize what you've said. This is talking about not the design, it's talking about a mindset change that's needed in order for us to move forward with development. And I think you rightly put it that how the balancing between social, economical, as well as physical and development has got to be done. I think now more so that we will wanting to do development, there has to be this tripartite dialogue, I suppose, so that we can achieve the best result rather than just mediocre result of another, like Wang Khoo was talking about, copycat from another development from opposite world, but we make it Malaysian style. I think Perekabandar is actually formed to induce, how should I say, very academic and practical discussion over a very scientific and also looking at the current situation and what has been exemplified by other parts of the world, so that we don't repeat the same mistake. And I think from the three speakers, it has shown that they're not against development. It's not against development. It's how we are going to do this development. whether it's going to be a string of islands together, whether you need to be a narrow passageway as what is normally like in Selat Tebrau, or whether now you need to find another location, but of probably similar concept, but it will not determine whatever the beauty and the plus point of Penang. I remember Penang was the pearl of the Orient, and I think if we go back to the principle of that, I'd like to go to Dr. Zainora about when you were looking at as a consultant, right? What sort of alternative would you recommend if it were to be in the Penang, that these three islands? To where would in your environmental sense of things, right? Whether it's the south, the north, the east, or the west. If the EIA has been approved, right? So, but because we cannot stop people from doing development, it's how we need now to justify that that development, or the concept of development can be moved forward, or if there is a very, how should I say, strong ground not to proceed but put another location, then we need to actually offer alternative, right? So as a responsible consultants, and also responsible muter of project, as well also responsible people of Malaysia. So Dr. Zainora, you have any good ideas to move forward from here?
Okay, thank you very much, Mustapha. Okay, I would like to share my limited experience being as a consultant, okay, during this structure plan of Johor, whereby at that time, Forest City coming in. Okay, so actually Forest City, the location is very close to the Ramsar site. Okay, but somehow it's like, we talk about economy, we talk about industrial. Okay, so regardless, the closeness of the locations with Ramsar site, so the project move on. Okay, so that is one. Number two, my experience in Langkawi. Okay, actually, Langkawi is one of the tourist attractions. Okay, so it also being hit, by the potential developers. Okay, to have their reclamation land over there. So what we did is that we must, from the perspectives of environment, okay, I forgot to say that this area mentioned by Madam Kusalima just now, actually we consider that one as an environmental sensitive area. Okay, even in the framework of Plan Malaysia or land use planning, so that one is, if I can consider that one, because we're talking about biological diversity, so it should be considered as the level 1 of environmental sensitive area. Let's say from the locations of the present locations of that three island. Okay, number one. Number two, if we our experience in Langkawi, we be able to prove or share some scientific evidence in terms of, okay, let's say this is via this applications of MCDM or GIS applications, okay, where we can show the impact of the reclamation. Okay, if we were to allow the reclamation to proceed, so we can, depending on the characteristic of the water of the area, so let's say there are 5 or 6 factors can be considered in that MCDM kind of a technique. So it will be, the result will show the less affected, moderate affected, and highly, severely affected. So at least that will be some kind of guidance, okay, for the developer to say, you want to develop in this area, but from the technique, it shows that one will be highly affected. Okay, so it's not.
How close? Okay, I think a layman will ask this question, right? Okay, presumably the development needs to go on, and I was told that they already done studies of north, south, east, west. The location has been done. Whether it's thorough, I'm not sure, but how should I say? No, I'm being the moderator here. I got to be balanced on everywhere in my balancing act here. No, this is my balancing act. So moving forward, right? Okay, there are good cases that some of this development goes ahead and it actually thrives. So how can we do it as a Malaysian style, ataupun how close should the land not be? See, right now, right now, the way that we look at it is like what Prof. Shuhana was saying. It's less like another salad or another street. Okay, so how wide normally will it be not affected? If you were to look at this big landmass.
No, let's say I'm talking from the perspectives of environment or geographical side. I think one thing highlighted by Prof. Hana, I do agree, very agree in terms of we have the existence of this natural bay. Okay,
correct.
Why we create these 3 islands so make it to hide that the beauty of that 3 bay. So in terms of the now Penang, that is an island, but we must remember they have seberang perai.
Okay.
So when we talk about the necessity of having land for development, first alternative, let's say, okay, option number 1, try to avoid any artificial reclamation. Okay, let's say seberang perai, they have lots of area, one thing. Secondly, if we want to have that reclamation, I think that seberang perai is much more hidden, okay, from the surge or any potentials of tsunami, rather than this that 3 the southern part. So I think if we imagine tsunami coming in from Sumatra, so at least the farther distance seberang perai, and it's like the enclosed area is much safer, or we talk about the damage, probably less loss as compared to what we are planning now on these 3 man-made island on the southern. So in terms of the environmental planning and geography setting, I would prefer, if this thing will be proceeded, probably to reconsider the location. That's my point.
So, but then there will be a question. The question is this now: if we build the land, the island belongs to the government, right? Okay. But if we take the land from seberang perai, how sure are we the land is still there? So I know I'm making a practical sense here. So this is a discussion. It's a discussion.
Yeah, this is balancing act.
Balancing act. Okay.
Balancing act. Yeah, we cannot win everything and everywhere. It's like gaining and losing kind of things. But we hope that, taking into consideration the characteristic of the area just now highlighted by Prof. Shuhana and also Madam Khoo, in terms of the fishermen over there. We are talking about the mud flat over there. I'm talking about, let's say, environmental sensitive area. If we were given options or alternative, I think that one will be much wiser decision.
Okay.
Can I interject as well to Dr. Zainora? If, for example, I think the argument would be that if they were to develop this on Batu Kawan or the seberang perai, then they will have to buy the land from the existing owners, and they're trying to avoid it by creating this reclamation land, because then when they reclaim, the state government can own the land, so they don't need to purchase from the owners. What if the reclamation is being done at the seberang perai area, just to so that they, like what they did in Melaka Raya?
Yeah, so I think
would that be feasible?
The in terms of the land matters, okay, katakanlah bawah kanun tanah negara, it will be the same in terms of the treatment. But let's say we are considering about the better location. Okay. So let's say, I'm just giving a scenario.
It is a discussion. It's a discussion. Yeah. We have to find the best option, because the reason is this. The reason is this. My contention is this. Since COP21, we need to provide responsible development. That means to say that it's not no development, it's responsible development. How we do the responsible development is up to us. So there has to be a dialogue, and that dialogue, even SDG 17 offers this dialogue, which is partnership. So now probably Dr. Zainora can further explain. Thanks.
Okay, let's move forward in terms of, let's say relationship with SDG. I think, let's say we talk about the future in 10 years' time. Actually, if those necessity of talking about the reclamation is unavoidable, Okay, so we proceed in terms of the economic and in terms of the social aspect, for instance. So first and foremost, like Prof. Shuhana mentioned, we are talking about the lands. Okay, so kalau kanun tanah negara tu, unlike kalau macam seberang perai, is more, I mean, the process is much easier.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just that purchasing the land from the owner, and then you know, you proceed with the ordinary development. But now, let's say creating, I'm more concerned in terms of the location. Okay, in terms of the location, I think it will be much more better options as compared to the present selections of site under the southern area, which is close to Penang apa ni, International Airport. Yeah, so probably, you know, along Teluk Kumbar, and this one is Pulau Rimau. Yeah, Pulau Rimau is a much I mean environmental friendly in terms of the locations. So if the proponents of the project might consider our opinion on these issues.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Zainora. I think I would like to have Puan Kusama to give some comments after Prof. Shuhana and also Dr. Zainora has actually presented, because it's unfair that I wouldn't give her the floor juga. So when you have listened to both their papers and you also have presented, so because technically we only have what 10 minutes left. So if you don't mind to be, but what I would like to propose is this: what if, okay, there is a platform that you or the people, the us need to to talk about responsible developments through whatever is being proposed here, because there's so many other items that that you know we have not discussed. About 72 items in the EIA, that probably is another paper by itself altogether. So Puan Khoo, any thoughts on what you have heard so far?
Okay, so we're talking about the alternative site. Actually, Batu Kawan Industrial Park is, you know, it's already, like they said that there's not much land left, but actually there's Batu Kawan Industrial Park 2. There are problems with the implementation agency, but that is not a good excuse to go and destroy, you know, quite a environmentally sensitive area in Teluk Kumbar. Actually, they should just get the act together and focus the development in Batu Kawan, because there's already, you know, Bandar Kasia, the industrial parks, and make a success of it, you know. And it doesn't have to be like right next to the airport, because you look at Kulim High Tech Park, it's not so near the airport. Maybe it will be near the future airport, but you know, people are investing billions there. I mean, the companies investing billions there. It is not like as if it has a seafront, you know. You don't need a seafront and all that. What you need is, you know, the right kind of planning policies and the right incentives for industrial investment. So, okay, now we're talking about the nelayan pantai. They are so important to food security. And since the COVID pandemic, there have been more people going out to sea. The people who lost their factory jobs are actually going to sea. Okay, so this is the most sustainable occupation. You know, these people, okay, there's 70,000 nelayan pantai in the whole of Malaysia. And then you have, you know, really like this kind of tak masuk akal punya project in Langkawi, in Malacca, in Negeri Sembilan, in Johor, in Perak, everywhere, you know, even Kuala Terengganu. And it's just, it's like people the politicians are too lazy to think. All they can think of is logging, quarrying, reclamation, you know. So we have to help them think, okay, how can you create meaningful jobs, you know, revitalize the economy without doing this kind of environmental destruction. So for example, California, I just looked it up. It's not that there's no fishermen. It's a Silicon Valley of the world, right? The high tech, the tech industry of the world. And they have 120,000 people who are fishermen or connected to the seafood industry. Because the seafood industry is also an income generator. It's creating jobs, you know. So there's no such thing as, you know, oh, everything is for industry and then there's no more fishermen. This is a very colonial type of mindset. Oh, fishing is a sunset industry. It's not a sunset industry. It's going to be our future protein is all, you know, most of it is going to be from the sea. And The seafood industry, I mean, Penang is famous for Penang food. What is it when you destroy your seafood source of the wild catch and you replace it with, imported from, I don't know, other countries or the farm fish? It's going to destroy your food industry because the quality is not there. You have to think of, slow food, slow city, and I think for the urban designers, like, okay, you have this famous idea of the garden city, okay, but the garden doesn't have to be in the city. In fact, we have so many kampongs which now, with remote, everything can be remote. You can actually, revitalize those kampong and make sure that people have sort of, basic infrastructure and all that, but they, decentralize all this population centers. I mean, that's the way of the future, decentralize, do things outdoors, have a different kind of lifestyle. And when you talk about Telok Kumba, it's not just the 3 islands and the fisheries itself. It's going to affect all the kampung around Telok Kumba. Already, they're going to build a hostel for foreign workers, 45,000 workers, and they're going to build a double-decker road from the bridge to that area. Why? Just to serve the islands. It's not for the local people. It's for the people who are not even here yet. So this is really, we are not doing anything. We need to, I mean, urban planning, architecture, urban design. It has to serve the local people. Okay, not some property speculation, selling to foreign buyers who just gonna like treat our place as a, I don't know, playground, second home, fixed asset for more foreign money flows and all that. That is not real. Okay, so let's get back to the real thing and let's address climate change.
Okay, thank you, Puan, Khoo Salma. Okay, so I think it's very nice to have this discussion, but I'm getting all these notes, and now I'm actually going to summarize it because we need to complete this talk. So, but before I close the talk, this is where I would like to make a summation that in 2050, I think by the time that these islands, if we are, all the 3 of you agree there has to be a development, but how we do development is the most important. So my contention is this: the pandemic has actually taught us that the cities now have got to take a look back the situation, and we need to reassess all the situation, whether the cities needs to be there in the current setting. That's number 1. Number 2, people has already now accepted the fact that you can live in a rural setting and get an urban income and still have the quality of life. And that is happening now with, how should I say, digital nomad. And a lot of it are happening in Bali. So one of the things that I would like to suggest, because of doing responsible development, one of the key notes of the new urban agenda under clause, if I'm not mistaken, 95, or I forgot, we have got 175 promises that we as a government make to United Nations Habitat by all 175 countries in 2016 on how we actually do and we to comply with SDG 2030, which is a parallel document to that. One of the things is actually to ensure that the current urban fabric, the current rural fabric, the current ecosystem both above water and below water are actually being enhanced. It's not just to maintain, but to enhance. So whatever way that we need to enhance, there are these methods that we consultants, we stakeholders needs to look at. So what Perekabandar is trying to do here is actually to create this form of other ways of approaching things, because I have looked at a lot of the effects of cities now ever since the pandemic in March 2020 until now. There is this current stock of metro or megapolis, slowing down of building of megapolis or metropolis, but the increasing acceptance and also development of micropolis. what I mean by micropolis are secondary towns, which are actually part and parcel of the whole urban fabric. And I would like to take a note about Taiwan. Taiwan is actually one that we can actually emulate in terms of their physical and economic development. How even a tourist spot, which is actually embarked for high Silicon Valley, whatever, they purposely make it not a direct highway to get to that place. It is a route within the same route of the normal within the topographical. It doesn't matter whether you have to go through the traffic jam, but that's the beauty. The journey is already part of the excitement of going to the place. And I think Penang has got that virtue, as I promoted earlier, where it's the pearl of the Orient. Orient is a big name, and I think under Perekabandar, what we have looked at, Penang is actually not just an island within the state of Penang and Georgetown and also Sabang Perai, but it's the whole of Malaysia and its setting between Peninsular Malaysia and Sumatra. And I think our discussion now would then see whether this form of methods of development land that we are going to invest with this a lot of sand, should we do the same way? And I understand that from my economic friends, they are now looking at not at shareholders corporatization or shareholders economy, but they're shifting to shareholders, not looking into shareholders economy, but going to stakeholders economy, where the how should I say, people of vulnerable being included in that sort of thing. And Africa is the test bed, and they are moving with that. And we probably need to have a relook at that, so that we will get the best result. We will have development. We will not stop development. It's now how we want to manage development, how we want to not control. We cannot control development. We can manage the development. And whatever we have, like who was talking about Kasha Island, talking about Sabang Perai, talking about some parts of the bay into. So we need to, how should I say, look at how we can consolidate to make the best of what we have before we lose everything and it will just be like another place in the world. And I think we need to put that very, very crucial. And with that, I would like to thank Khoo, Salma, Professor Shuhana, and Dr. Zainora for a very wonderful, how should I say, discussion. And I think we agree that development will go on, but it's how we do the development. And hope Perekabandar can add to that color in Malaysian development, so that we can offer our sincere professional discourse and discussions further. So with that, I'm Mustapha, Architect Mustapha. I pass back to Dr. Nurul for the next part of the event. Thank you very much.
I just want to say, development for whom? Who is the development for?
That's
Okay. Thank you, thank you all. So I think that that's a very nice, nice note to end with. Who is this development for, right? So again, I would like to thank everyone. There's actually a lot of comments on Facebook and some questions as well. So perhaps after this, but we don't have time to cover all of them because we had a nice discussion going. But perhaps if the panelists are interested, you could go and have a look after this. So again, I would like to thank everyone for joining us this morning. Yeah, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank
Bye.
you all. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Salma. Bye.
Bye.
Good one again, Doctor.